Hey everyone. Again, Karen Atia, formerly columnist at the Washington Post. I am now writing at Substack on my Substack called The Golden Hour. I
Mhm.
am also yeah, it's just been a lot of identity shifts. This is the year of the
Oh,
snake, right?
for
In the
real.
Chinese lunar year. So I've been shedding a lot of skin. So I also was a lecturer at Columbia University and I was teaching race and journalism until
Mhm.
Columbia decided to cancel that class. So I decided to, screw them and teach my own class. So I
Yeah.
set up my own course called the Resistance Studies series. So I've been teaching, actually just finished, wrapped up teaching between the summer and this fall, teaching 1,000 students. So I'm also considering myself a rogue radical professor
What
as
we
well.
do.
Yes. So an educator. So yeah, at this moment, and then yeah, as you said, engaging in just wanting to keep the stories alive about truth tellers, other
Mm.
journalists. I'm also an amateur Muay Thai fighter as well, so you might have seen me training and twirling swords, an avid martial artist. So you may or may not see me training for a possible upcoming fight. So I do a lot of things.
I First of all, you and Kimberly Kelly are like my girls, like my go-to girls. And something I find so interesting about you is you do the fighting and she does dragon boat racing. She
I
was
saw
like
that.
training to do dragon boat racing. I'm like, you couldn't just be the most badass journalist. You also have to like physically dominate in such ways. It's so cool.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Someone had said, and motorcycles. Yes, I did get my motorcycle license. Did not get a
No bike
motorcycle
yet.
yet. No bike
Okay.
yet because I was in Texas and I didn't want to die. So
No.
I was like, but yeah, yeah. There's something to that about. I remember telling my old boss, I'm like, all I know how to do is write and fight, and like
Yeah.
it's like I don't know. Uh,
Welcome to the show. That's what we
yeah,
like to do?
yeah. So here I am.
I think getting a good ass kicking is good for the soul. I mean, I haven't been in a fight probably since like high school, college, but I do feel like you learn a lot about the other person when you fight with somebody physically, whether that's I don't condone bullying or anything, but we were pretty evenly matched, me and the girls that I would fist fight with in high school. And there's something about the physicality of having to navigate that space with someone that can be really powerful. Do you find that you bring some of your training from structured fighting into your writing and vice versa?
Yeah, this is a really man. I could nerd out about all this a lot. I mean, it's a really profound thing. I mean, I find fighting and training to be a very well, two things. Like just for the purpose of like stress relief and like we're in our heads all the time with writing. And even when it came to journalism or comes to journalism, so much of what we determine to be success is like, oh, look at these kind of abstract numbers.
Mhm.
Here are your clicks, here are your likes, here's your, and there's something about that that doesn't always feel real to me. Like my body doesn't
Yeah,
register that, but like my body registers like when you're making contact with a pad or like the sound of like, oh, okay, I hit that pad correctly because the sound is correct. Like it's very
right.
almost like it's very sensory, it's very musical. And yeah, like okay, did you throw that kick? Like, you can't fake stuff in the I mean,
No.
you can fake, like
Test your instincts and your
yeah,
ability to listen and go back and forth.
and
Yeah.
you can't AI in a fight, like,
No.
so, right?
No.
Like, you're like, if you're in there, that is you, that is your cardio, that is your training, that it's like I guess for me, there's something about it that is, like, deeply real,
Yeah.
deeply human.
Uh-huh.
It's very intimate, I guess,
Yeah.
particularly you get to know a person very quickly and you see how they react when they're scared, when they're
Mhm.
angry. Like you get to see like almost like the real side of
Mhm.
people. So
Maybe this
yeah.
is the future. Maybe we'll have like MMA fights that are interviews in the future, right? We'll have like pay-per-view Karen verse whatever subject you're interviewing, and you'll have to chase them around.
You think I'm joking.
No.
I'm not joking. I have said, and I'm not completely joking. I tell this to people. I found out like Ivanka Trump has a blue belt and that like activated something like primally competitive in me. I'm like, absolutely not. Like I
Yeah.
can't have her like
Oh, rank. Yeah.
made yeah, or just like, man, there are some, and yes, we don't condone bullying, but some bullies need to be shoved into the locker.
Sure.
Some of those folks need a good like elbow check. So there's a part of me that is like, look, there's a point where politics fails, and it's like we're just gonna have to square up. Like, so yeah,
You know?
there are plenty of people I would square up with right now. Ben Shapiro, come down,
Right?
bro.
Let's
Like,
see. Let's
let's
see.
just
I
see.
mean, it's like they used to do that in Congress, right? The Brooks, Sumner affair where he literally whipped out his cane and he was like, "I'm done with you. I've had this." Yeah.
Yeah.
Talking too much
So
shit. Yeah.
look, like I am not opposed to I said this on social media the other day. Arise the swoletariat.
There we go. There we go. Yeah.
They've taken over these fitness spaces. They said that what it means to be strong is to be
Mhm.
fascist, and I'm like, we need a muscular progressive vision if we want.
Proletariat. There we
Yeah.
go.
So
I'm in.
seize the gains of
I'm in. Yeah, and I've seen Hegseth's muscle ups, okay? I know I can outdo him. I
yeah.
feel strong about this. I feel good about
Exactly,
this.
and you can't debate that, like, you can, like, "Yo, like, I know, yes, policy and but, yo, I can bench press more than you, so,
Sure,
like, it's
sure.
important."
Yeah. That's what I just need to start there, you know?
We can do it.
Um, well, one of the things so before we get into talking about the Saudi stuff, which we are gonna talk about, I do wanna ask you, you were interviewed as part of because you're part of the gyms and whatnot, talking about this neo-Nazi rise in fitness culture, in gyms, and in this sort of like, folks are showing up to the gym, they wanna feel better about themselves, there's some sort of insecurity they have or some sort of strength that they're working towards, and they're kinda getting pipelined into these bad spaces. Like, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, there was a recent article that came out, and this is Canada, the CBC, about these MMA gym owners that were actively showing up to these like neo-Nazi
Mm,
meetups and things like that. And uh, it's been as someone I follow a lot of like fitness influencers, wellness influencers. Obviously, I've trained in a lot of martial arts, MMA, jiu-jitsu gyms, and it's just really striking how pro kind of right wing it is. And look, we see it very clearly at the White House. I mean,
mm,
links between Donald Trump and Dana White of the
mm.
UFC, how he literally wants to bring these almost like UFC gladiator fights to the White
Gladiators.
House.
Mhm.
And this idea of warrior culture, there's very much a pipeline, and we have this they call it like active clubs, right? And where they
Mm,
are actively saying, okay, yeah, we're not talking about politics, we're just working out, we're just trying to get fit. But like it ties so much into particularly white male nationalist patriarchal ideas of what strength looks like. And some
mhm,
of these clubs are actively dangerous. They're training people they're violent.
mm,
And this is not just in the US, this has been documented even in Nazi Germany, how
mm,
even in Germany, the idea of we need to train up our men to be strong and muscular to defend the homeland. And we're seeing
mhm,
it in these active clubs, right? So and that's not even getting to, how hostile these spaces can be for women, for
mm,
trans, for LGBTQ
mhm,
folks. So for me, that's just been a particularly interesting thing to look at, because I think now it's so very clear how this has been literally a pipeline from Donald Trump's rise from
mm.
wrestling, WWE. I used to watch him on Monday Night
Me
Raw,
too.
right?
Ah, I love WWE. I was
Me
so into
too.
it, and now I'm so bummed. I'm like, "Man."
Right, right. It's a clear sort of, and I think this is definitely the appeal to Trump from a cultural, from a mythological,
Mhm,
almost archetype standpoint, is that he has positioned himself not only as being rich and wealthy and not caring about what people say and think and being an absolute, racist, but he's a fighter. Donald
mm.
Trump is
Fight, but,
a fighter. And that I think is something the left doesn't appreciate and looks at fighting and power and winning as some, oh, we don't want. And for me, I'm like, stop it.
yeah,
We
get
need
strong,
get
for real.
strong. That we cannot be afraid of power and using it and retaining it and keeping it. That power is not power to me is neutral.
Mhm,
It depends on how you
mhm,
use it. I need power to be able to defend myself. I need power
mhm,
to be able to defend my rights and my
mhm,
community to resist domination. So for me, like as I'm thinking about these new identities, I'm like, yeah, like for me, leaning more into um, having people, and not just that, but like in this moment where we feel so powerless. They're
Mm,
taking away, they're literally trying to erase Black people, brown people,
mhm,
LGBTQ people. They're trying to erase us from the face of the
mhm.
planet and from public life. And I think a lot of people feel powerless. So I think we're in a prime moment. Like I hear this from women and people all the time. They're like, I don't know why. I just feel like I need to get into the gym. And I'm like, do it because your body is like realizing there's there's threats out there. B, like you're realizing you need to get into the community to move that feeling through your body. And then C, like also, another reason why these people train because it's fun. It's
It is
freaking
fun.
fun. Like not everything. I don't believe everything needs to be like we need to like do
Such
resist.
a
Like
yeah.
part of it is just like it's freaking fun to like be able to do a round. I'm like
Yeah, to kick and knock stuff down and, yeah, spar and just feel
and
strong.
and feel strong. It's fun. So I definitely will be writing a lot more on the solitary and what I think about it, and particularly for women, queer people to like get in. I highlight a lot of free trainings for
Well,
people to get into, and I
mhm.
might may or may not be starting our own little progressive fight train club.
Yeah, we have
But
to.
yeah, so to me, this is a part of the work. In addition to the writing, and I mean, Bruce Lee, talked so much about
Yeah,
using martial arts for fighting for what's right, fighting against racism. That was in his films and his movies, fighting against anti-Chinese
mhm.
racism by demonstrating like beating the racists.
Right. Well, that's the
So
thing that I grew up in the '80s and '90s, right?
yeah.
Like, same, right? And I feel like, where did this turn around, okay? Because it was like all of my movies were about, like, discipline and Karate Kid and Power Rangers and using your power for good, and then the WWE, the bad guys were always the Saudis and the Russians, and yet today we have Donald Trump, WWE Hall of Famer, right? Who has aligned with the two forces that we have seen as being, traditionally anti-Western. And granted, there was a ridiculous amount of racism that is unexcusable in what the WWE was doing in the '80s and '90s. But if we take the base lesson of like why these two things were the places that they said like that's where the line between like Western values and other world values are, and those are the power struggles, for him to invite in the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, who is responsible for the killing of a Washington Post journalist, which he has never denied, even though Trump was trying to deny it for him. 9/11 families freaked out by this. Just the amount of Saudi buy up of our media companies and of our sports and whatnot. Like, do they not see that the purpose was that they could not influence genuinely, so now they are purchasing? Much like the way that Jeff Bezos maybe purchased the Washington Post, couldn't influence you to love him, so now he just shuts down any sort of dissent.
Mhm.
Having Trump invite MBS the other day, you've reported on him before. You hired Jamal Khashoggi to be a reporter for the Washington Post, colleague of yours. I can't imagine how you felt watching him say, well, a lot of people didn't like that gentleman, or shit happens when he talked about his killing. I mean, how vile and disgusting.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's still hitting me even when you're saying that, and I'm right now like flashing back to when I first met Jamal. I mean, even from a human level, like Jamal was one of the best people I've ever worked with, and I think what people need to understand, he was a U.S. resident. Yes, he is so well known in Saudi. Like what happened to him was shocking in Saudi. I mean, he comes from a family that comes from a long line of physicians and advisors to the royal family.
Mhm,
Even before, I didn't discover him or anything, but before he came to the post, the reason why I found him was because he's being quoted everywhere in the New York Times and all of that. So he was a go-to guy even for Western journalists to
mhm,
understand Saudi Arabia. But given his stature, and I was a young editor at the time, like we formed this bond, this rapport, that uh, to this day, it just feels so. It is just he was a kind, amazing human being, and I say that not out of hagiography because he's gone, but he he first of all, Jamal Khashoggi, a lot of people think that he was banned from writing because so to set the stage,
Mm,
2016. People are going to remember this is kind of when Trump was on the rise, and it was a bit of a
mhm,
surprise, right? 2015, he comes down that goddamn elevator,
mm.
and were like, oh, like he's serious running for president. By 2016, it was like, oh, snap. He looks like he's
He
got a
could
shot at
win.
the
Yeah.
presidency. That was 2016. At the same time, this is when Mohammed bin Salman, the crown prince, is like coming out of thin air almost, and he's sidelining all his family members to skip out ahead in line to become the crown prince. So these two
Because
men,
MBS was 7th in line. He
yeah,
was not, yeah, he was far down the line.
yeah,
Yeah.
he was not a known entity really
Right.
to a lot. So again, 2016 is when these two entities are rising in the U.S. and Saudi Arabia, Trump and
Mm,
Jamal Khashoggi, as an editor, as a writer, he decided to criticize, or not even criticize, but warn against these increasing ties between MBS and Trump. He was warning against Trump. He was like,
mm.
for writing that, that's what got him banned.
Wow.
Was critiquing Trump. And like
Oh,
it wasn't, yeah, not a lot
oh.
of people know that, but I'm trying to say that because it's come into stark relief now. So for me to see Trump now back in power, after Jamal's murder, Trump was also covering for MBS then, but to see them back in power and emboldened to be so bold as to not only smear Jamal, but to lie, to to just brush off a horrendous murder and dismemberment. Things happen as if the
Mm,
Saudis didn't try to literally have an international cleanup crew. They
mhm,
tried to almost blackmail the Turks. The only reason
mhm,
why we know what happened to Jamal is because the Turks in that embassy where Jamal went into and didn't come out, they wiretapped the place. That's the
mm,
only reason why we know. And they were
mhm.
leaking out. So anyway, it just goes to show the complete, I mean, impunity that these folks have. I believe Trump is jealous of MBS, that he wishes that he could be a king
He
like
does.
MBS, that to just disappear people when he wants.
Well, like
Just
you
have
said, I don't need Congress to declare war. I'm just gonna kill people like they'll be dead.
that is to me the well, not even to me, it's just objectively what the power of an absolute king has.
Mm,
And I think Trump, that's why I kind of said, the Saudification of things. Like Trump, for all of it, we remember like the Muslim ban and all this Islamophobic rhetoric. He loves them Saudis. He loves their wealth. He gave MBS a military flyover, and I could not
so
help but think about the Saudis flying planes into the World Trade Center, and like the symbolism of giving them F-15 fighter jets to fly over the US, like on like as a double insult to the 9/11 families.
and now he's gonna sell the Saudis F-35s, like, we're gonna be giving them military equipment, like, I can't like, just graduated college me cannot conceive that this in 20 years is where we are now. Like, from the day because I was in New York at college for 9/11, and I was in school for theater, and I've told this story before. What was crazy and people don't really know about me being 18 at that time was there were boys in my ballet class that dropped out of theater school to enlist in the army because we were so sure that this was, like, an important moment for America. This was our World War II, and, like, they had to go. It wasn't just, like, your typical line of succession, like, what Bush and everything did truly, like, in many ways ruined a generation of people, and now they're sorta like, "Oh, sorry, well, there were no weapons of mass destruction, and also now the crown prince is at the White House, and we're gonna have a great time," and it's like, so many of my friends died, like, believing what we were doing then, and you've just Trump in particular has taken it away, like him trying to be buddy buddy with Al Qaeda, him wanting to bring the Taliban to Camp David in his first term, him now with MBS and like you said, the Saudiification, the Qatar plane, everything about it is just like so inconceivable, and there's so much of it that it's like, what do we do? How did we get here?
Yeah, exactly. Like how did we get here? And it's there's so much about like uh, and understanding, this quote unquote U.S. Saudi relationship, and
Mhm.
positioning it as if it's like that this is relationship that creates a whole bunch of jobs
Yeah.
for Americans, and like you rightly said, I mean, unless you're thinking about all the military people that got sent to die in terms of these wars, and instead of cutting the US Saudi relationship after 9/11, we went and bombed some other Arab countries. We went and went to Afghanistan, we went to
All that
Iraq.
trouble to get Saddam Hussein and everything, like,
Right.
and now we're
Yeah.
just cool.
Yeah, and so even, in a way, like back to Jamal, I think what is so painful, I think about it all is Jamal in his writing for the Post. He used to tell me, he was like, "No, I don't want to go so hard after the Crown Prince." He's like, he saw himself. He's like, "I want him to succeed. I want." He would tell me, I still have the text. Like, he's like, "I just want to advise him."
Mhm.
Um, a lot of people keep saying, "Oh, he was a dissident and he was a dissident." He's like, he hated that word. He did not want to be a dissident. He was like, "No, um, I want to help, but this new Saudi Arabia under MBS is becoming so repressive." Again, not that it was perfect,
Mm,
but he was saying it's becoming unbearable, is what he said.
mm.
And I think in the fact that an MBS couldn't even handle that criticism, or not even criticism. I mean,
Just talking, yeah.
just talk, and Jamal spent a lot of his work trying to uplift other Saudis that were imprisoned.
Mm,
So again, Saudi Arabia, like, and I was part of when Mohammed bin Salman came to the US in 2016. I was a part of the WAPO delegate. I've met MBS twice, actually.
what are
I've
his
been
vibes like? Is he Trumpy?
I would say he and Trump physically are similar in the sense that they are very large men.
Oh,
They
okay.
have physically dominating presences. Like, so
Mhm.
there's that. MBS is actually, he's all right. I think
He's young, he's like 40, yeah.
yeah, I think we were born in the same year, honestly. He has this A, smugness about him, but B, like, I felt like he knew he was working the room and telling them the right things. Again, like, the image of Saudi Arabia was is this sort of rich,
Mhm.
touristic chic type of things. And when I first met him, he was in a suit. He very McKinsey like. He kind of came
Oh,
very like, ROIs and like KPIs and
trying to
like
be very, like, Western kinda, because he showed up
very
this time very much in traditional. Yeah.
yeah. So to me, like, to see this trajectory and how DC was so taken by his promises
This
to
young prince, this
yeah, he's
smug,
gonna
young, charlatan, authoritarian, insecure prince. Yeah, that's
right.
Trump, right?
Because he promised to give, he
He
was gonna
likes
build a new city.
soccer. He
Yeah,
likes soccer. He's cool. He likes the dog. He likes what you
yeah.
like.
So, and it's like, but Jamal was always like, "Don't fall for it,
Yeah.
fall for it," and now here we are. And I guess for me, the bigger picture, obviously, is the fact that this impunity, um, Trump taking, in a lot of ways, cues, not just cues, like his family
Correct.
taking money, $2 billion going
Mhm.
into Jared Kushner's private equity firm from the Saudis. These folks are buying up sports, or partnership
Mhm.
with sports. We saw the LIB golf tournament. We saw them
Mhm.
buying up influencers to promote Saudi Arabia.
Mhm.
For me, as a former gamer, the fact that they're in a bid to buy electronic art,
Yep.
I
Mhm.
was like, oh my goodness, like, they're coming
Mhm.
for everything. There have been some media reports about them being in discussions about Paramount. And
Skydance, they're gonna give Ellison the money maybe. Yeah.
that's
Tricky.
why,
They're buying up Western culture. That's, and that there's danger in any one entity owning that, especially a foreign entity.
yeah, and so what are the, in terms of money, costs, human costs, and looking at how I've seen firsthand, even in the US, the censorship that has come with this. I don't know if folks remember, but after Jamal's murder, Hassan Minaj, Patriot Act, his
Mm,
great show was Patriot Act. He did a great episode taking on Saudi Arabia as the leader of the Muslim world after Jamal's killing, and did a fantastic episode. That it was on Netflix. It was banned
mm,
in Saudi Arabia. Not too long after that, I'm not necessarily saying these are two are connected, but not long after that, Patriot Act stopped, like went off the air. I thought it
mm,
was one of the most brilliant like news
mhm,
comedy shows. Um, so that, and then and I've talked about this. I finished a book manuscript on Jamal and our time together, and that was blocked at HarperCollins or dropped. So like
mhm,
this censorship coming here to Americans is real. And
mm,
I guess for me, it's a warning that this global cabal of thugs
mhm,
is real, and we think it's not going to affect us. Okay, like when you start seeing your media look a lot different, when you start seeing that you're not certain things are getting shadow banned, like yeah, it's going to come from you. And then what does it say about journalists that
mhm,
it is now it is now much more dangerous to be a journalist now than it was 7 years ago, than it was our the threats in terms of transnational surveillance, in terms of even what we're seeing with Trump, right? Like
mhm,
Trump is trying to sue people into oblivion for criticizing him. The massive
mhm,
payouts that these mainstream media organizations are giving to Trump. It is, I
mhm,
could say definitively, it is creating a chilling effect. I have not been invited on TV to talk at all, almost,
mhm.
about, whether it's the Washington Post or about Jamal. I was on there 24/7
Yeah.
almost 7 years ago. This time, crickets. To me, it's not a coincidence. So it's
Mhm,
this, when I talk about the Saudification, this is what Jamal used to warn about, is the fear that comes in because your literal sort of kings and overlords have said these are the red lines.
mhm,
Um, People are being bought out. Literally, there's your voices are being bought, silenced that way. And it's just so striking to me because, like, on the other hand, I'm in New York City and people are talking about Islamophobia. Oh my gosh,
yeah.
Sharia law and
Oh my God. Yeah. Zohran Mamdani is going to bring back the Arabic numerals. Don't you? Which
right. So you have that level of like
so
Islamophobia.
crazy
And
everywhere. Yeah.
some people criticize me saying, if I said Saudification, is that being Islamophobic? And I'm like, well, besides the fact that the Saudis literally are buying up like media property, um, like it's this question of Saudi Arabia for a lot of people is not the face of Islam. Like, and
Hmm.
this has nothing to do with, Islam, and everything to do with authoritarians and oligarchs teaming up to control us. And Trump, as we said, this is what Trump would love to do. Just,
He's in that spin. He's got that's what concerns me is like it is that authoritarianism, right? If you look at who he wants to be pals with, it's
mm,
not the traditional democracies we've wanted to be pals with. It's Putin, it's Orban, it's Erdogan, it's MBS. It's these people who are sort of like, hey, maybe we could divide the world up into 6 zones and we'll each control a zone if we all sort of like bank our money and power together now. And I think that's, of great concern.
yeah. And then on the flip side, back to why Saudi Arabia wants weapons and F-35s, um, Yemen, and part, for those who remember, and it's still ongoing, but the Saudi Arabia's war in Yemen was causing, for years, the worst humanitarian crisis in terms of famine, in
Mhm,
terms of the assaults and the attacks. And so, for folks who remember, several years ago, part of the outrage and the outcry in the aftermath of Jamal's murder was, rightfully so, we had people saying we need to stop our arms transfers to
mhm,
Saudi Arabia. We need to stop arming them for this bloody war. Jamal himself even wrote that this war in Yemen needed to come to an end.
Mhm.
And if we remember, Trump shielded Saudi Arabia from congressional testimony, even though we
Right.
have, the Leahy law that supposedly prohibits the U.S. from arming entities that are accused of human rights. He approved $8 billion worth of weapons to Saudi Arabia anyway. So it's not
Kind of
just
paved the way for us to give all those weapons to Israel too. I mean, it's just, this is the thing, like even little things that when we go back to 2015, 2016, and we're looking at it now, I'm like, that was a softening of ground for this, which made the total excuse for that. We have changed norms is so much in just the last 10 years.
years, man.
I'm gonna show you something I have on my desk over here because I'm not a foreign correspondent person. I've always been like American politics, and that
Mm,
normally that's enough. I could do like domestic and state and local, and that takes up your whole day. But now
mm,
because there's so much involved, so I've been starting to read this, "The Kicking the Hornet's Nest." Simply, which is the foreign policy in the Middle East from Truman to Trump. Now, I don't know if this is a good book or not, because as you could hear, I just opened it for the first
Sure.
time. But I just got it because I'm like, man, do you have to know international in a way that maybe previously it was a little easier to kind of box things up? The
Mm,
nuance of international, especially with Trump over the last 10 years, is changing domestic policy, and the ways that our politicians are funded and where the money is coming from and what the end goals there are just not as cut and dry as they used to be when it was like, oh, it's Christian nationalism. Okay, well, I know where that comes from and how that works, and I know how we fight that. It's like, no, it's Christian nationalism plus it's like global authoritarianism. It's not just the oil money, it's like the attempt to truly enslave people and like bring back that system of war. And like now they're coming into South America. I'm like, y'all,
mhm.
you have to know foreign policy now more than anything. And it's like crazy to try and be catching up on it at this point in my life. But here we
Yeah.
are.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're on the right track. I mean, I teach this, in my class. The
I'm gonna
way
have
that
to join.
yes, please
Oh
come
well.
through, man. Come through,
Yeah.
come through. I mean, the way that I think about this a lot. I think about and I consider myself an internationalist first
Yeah.
and foremost. I think about this in terms of empire,
Mm,
power, and empire. We
mhm,
talk about this U.S. Saudi relationship, but so much of all of this has been about maintaining Western hegemony. And in order for
mm,
us to have done that, we needed oil resources. So they really are a vassal state to
mhm,
us in many ways, right? And so it's more of an oil for weapons
mhm.
uh, thing, and not to protect Saudi people per se, but to protect
The
the royal
empire.
family, the Sauds,
Mm,
who in many ways are not necessarily the face of,
mhm,
like, it's a recent invention, and there's so much to be said for the parallels to Israel, right? In
mhm.
terms of maintaining empire, maintaining a foothold so that Europe, and by extension America, if we think about America as an
Sure.
extension of the European empire and inheriting that burden to keep the world together. So much of it is about us still managing the Middle East and moving people around and like
Mhm,
saying we can impose our will and we can impose our domination, right? And so for part of, even for me, because I wasn't a Middle East expert at all before
no.
Nepal, right? But I've had to be because of all this and so much of, the people ask why such impunity on Jamal's murder, why such impunity on the murder of Palestinian journalists,
Sure.
in Gaza, and this insistence that Saudi Arabia recognize the state of Israel and they want in their managing of the Arabs, they want
Mhm,
for the Saudis to be their key player in legitimizing, Israel. So the Abraham Accords and all of that. And
mhm,
notice MBS has always been hedging, cagey about whether or not they'll commit to it. They say they want a Palestinian state. We also know that like the Israelis don't want that.
they're
Like
not gonna do
so
it,
they're
yeah.
so they're also playing us, right?
Right.
So like
That's why the title of this was Saudi Arabia playing in our faces.
they're playing in our face. They're playing in our face and like
I know.
like in a normal world. why would someone like a Trump like bend over backwards to smear Jamal, to coddle this grown man child of a crown prince? And I think when you think about it, I like to simplify things. When you think about it as America being an extension of the great, I would maybe argue British Empire, really.
Sure.
Um,
Mhm.
a lot about Israel and Saudi Arabia and like makes sense. And you have these states that are trying to impose themselves
Mhm.
on populations, and and because there's a lack of legitimacy, they have to use force.
And I
Yeah.
know I'm gonna get people who say that after this, right? Who are gonna be like, "But V, if you look at the current state of who has the most power in terms of allies and maintaining our way of life, the Saudis are much stronger and investing more in us than France." And I'm like, "Okay." But like there will be people who look at this and go, "But he's giving $1 trillion to America." Like, how does that show up though, guys? Like, take it a couple steps further. What does that mean? What are you
And
talking about?
and do people ever follow up? Because these are pledges, they're promises. A
Right.
lot
Did
of
they ever
times,
actually happen? Right.
do they ever actually happen? And also, $1 trillion to who, and how does that affect you? Like, how does that
Mhm.
affect in our part? Which is why I've always said this is about the elites making these
Right.
deals. Um, Meanwhile, we're struggling to afford rent and food and all that, right?
Right, 'cause there's
So
$1 trillion on what? To BlackRock to buy up private equity and housing, and then,
yeah,
like, what to who? How what is this $1 trillion going to?
that trillion's not dollars not going to Snap or
No, not going to education, not going to yeah, if it goes to military, it goes to weapons, yeah, which go right back out to them. But
and then goes right back out.
it's it's something where I just try to tell people, like, we're gonna keep the hard part is we are in the muck right now. We can even look back to 2015 like we just are now and be like, "Oh, I see now what happened then." We are in it right now, which is why it's like we have to just keep finding smart people, keep talking to them, sign up for your class.
Yeah.
Tell people about the class because 'cause I'm gonna sign up for it.
Oh,
I need a
it's
crash course on Middle East. I cannot do all of this by myself. It's
uh
wild times.
it is well timed. Yeah, yeah. So actually, yeah, again, long story short, was teaching about race and media at Columbia. They canceled the class because they're cowards. So I
Yeah.
decided to teach it anyway. So this summer, I was teaching race, media, and international affairs to 500 students in the summer, 600 students this fall. Um, we just concluded the fall students. So if people want to sign up. We're gonna have a wait list, and I'll let everyone know when. I have two versions. I have 101, which is the basic
Yeah.
class, and then a 102 class, and we talk about everything from Japan and the League of Nations and racial equality proposal there to yes, the Middle East, Islam, to the Chinese migration, all these things, and I'm tracking these trajectories along with the media developments in terms of what happened when we got the telegraph.
Right, yeah.
How did our ideas about race and nation change when we started getting faster news, for instance?
Mhm.
So I'm looking at that, like all three of those things, and tracing them along the trajectory of empire, of technology, of
Great.
supremacy. So, to be able to sign up, we do have a wait list that's on our site. It's on resistancesummerschool.com. So you can
Mhm.
put yourself on the wait list, and that would be the first. You guys would be the first to know when we open up 101 again and 102. I'm gonna take a month or two break so that I can like
Take some time. Yes, we
read
got
and
to.
breathe. But yes, I mean, these issues are precisely the reason why more of, and particularly more journalists, like people like you and me who try to bring these issues to others. I think part of it is like us as journalists. I'm like, why didn't I learn about
Right,
this journalism history?
right.
Like, why didn't
They were
I?
so worried about the damn Oxford comma, they didn't teach me anything about Middle Eastern
Yeah,
policy.
no, honestly, it's like,
For
okay,
real.
all that other stuff I can learn on the job, but wait a second, why didn't I know that newspapers actually like sent racist mobs to New York to go kill people? Like,
Yeah.
why didn't I know like the Washington Post actually has a history of buying up a Ku Klux Klan supported radio station?
Yeah.
Like, Anyway.
I mean, so I'm in Rochester now, which the North Star came out of here with Frederick Douglass and everything, and they have the house, and you can visit it, and you can do all that stuff. And I only learned about that when I came to Rochester. I was like, oh my god, it's actually here, and this is how it all worked. And like,
Exactly.
grew up in Connecticut, all they want to talk about is the damn Pilgrims, okay? They don't like all of my history in school was the Pilgrims and how the first 13 colonies are the only ones that really matter, and we did everything perfect, and that was it. So
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
so much you have to learn. It's why I love adult learning because you're so surprised, but
Mhm,
you have enough lived experience to know that what you're surprised by is true. And then you're
mhm.
pissed that you didn't
Yeah.
know it earlier in life, right?
It's a whole stage of emo
It's
and
a
I
whole
think
thing.
together, I tell people, like, the emotions of all this, we all kind of work through that together. You get a lot of people who are like, "You feel ashamed that you didn't know." I'm like, "No, we are I don't care how many degrees you have, I don't
Yeah.
care how many PhDs you have,
Yep.
like, we are
So
all in
much more.
remedial history."
If
Because it's
that,
been held
if
for
we're even getting the truth, right? If we're even, because we're seeing the insurrection be rewritten right now. We're a part of the history that will be mistold to the next generation. So we have to do our part to try and like, hold these things true and let people know, like
exactly,
you do, about who Khashoggi actually was and what he really cared about and not let them talk shit on our guy, you know? Like the
exactly.
man has passed away. Like, please, let that there's no reason to lie on him after everything else they did to him. Um Perfect. So Resistance Summer School, we will watch that. Will you come back and chat with us again
I would
sometime?
love to, I would love to.
Okay,
There's so
great.
much to talk about, and there's so many like I said, I'm recruiting for the Swoletariat Army. So,
We're getting
what?
in. We're getting in. You got so this weekend, what we're gonna do, we're gonna get on the wait list for
Mhm.
Resistance Summer School. We're gonna pump some iron so that we're ready for the Swoletariat, and we might punch something. Figure a tree, a wall, something,
It's
just
for
get that energy out of your body. There is no other way to do it sometimes than getting on there. And I have one of those like we call it shaky machines. It's like
okay.
because for, like, PTSD, it's like a vibrating plate you can stand on, and it, like, shakes the, like, energy in your body that you literally cannot get out mentally. You have to, like, shake it out of you. So, find all the things that help you move energy in your
All
body.
the things to help you, and to move the energy to build
To do
power
better
into
things,
life,
man.
and like I said, if you need to, fight a bigot or fight a racist or evade the authorities,
Gotta be
oh,
ready. Gotta be ready, man, and we gotta
you
get those
know,
motorcycles. We're gonna bring back me and you are gonna bring back, Bullying the Bullies and motorcycle gangs that
yeah,
actually do good things. Because like,
let's
the
do
Hells
good.
Angels, alright, like, they did some bad stuff with the drugs, but they did a lot of good stuff too. They were very much defenders of children when, like, kids had to go to court or, like, if you got bullied at school and the Hells Angels rolled up with you, like, we could be a good gang, I
We could be,
think.
yeah. I'm all for having a progressive gang,
A
man.
progressive gang, and people are asking you to bring Artemis next time, please.
Artemis is so I swear that cat anytime he does anything bad, people are like innocent, innocent. I swear that cat would get better legal defense than I would. Yes, Artemis he I will have to get him on camera
Get him
next
on
time
camera next time.
for
I'll bring
sure.
Little next time, my 15-year-old Yorkie that hates everyone, so it'll be perfect. Alright. Alright, bye, Karen. Thanks
All
for
right, bye
chatting
you
with
guys.
us.
Thank you guys.
Bye.
All right, bye bye.